Welcome to the Bare Bones Biz webinar series, where every month I introduce someone who's smart and fun and savvy about business, and we chat it up. And today I have two buzz-snatching experts, David Biondo and Dean Rotbart from Business Unconventional. Now, Dean and I go way, way back. Dean and I worked together at Benjamin Franklin, the punctual plumber, where he turned me on to the idea of getting publicity. Publicity is at once, by definition, free, and two, more effective and powerful than marketing because it involves the power of someone else bragging on you, or a third-party validation of what it is that makes you different and better and special from your client's or prospective client's standpoint. So I think you're going to learn a lot, and we have kind of an interesting format today. David and Dean sponsor or produce a radio show out of Denver, Colorado, KNUS 710 AM, and they are using our webinar today as their radio show. I'm using their radio show as the webinar, and we're all connected via GoToMeeting and the internet, so it's just a wonderful world that we live in. Hey, David and Dean, could I ask you two to introduce yourselves a little bit and maybe tell me how you met each other? How did you come to work together?
This is Dean. Happy to say hello. Hello, David.
Hello there, Dean.
We are a tag team in Denver, Colorado, and we're merging audiences, Ellen. We're taking our audience that is broadcast in Denver on Sunday, so that we're tape recording this at 8 a.m. Denver time, but it also goes out really all around the world. We have an audience of small business owners and entrepreneurs. Our show is called Business Unconventional.
Be Unconventional.
Be Unconventional.
Yeah,
and yeah, and David and I actually met because I had a client that probably at some point your webinar participants would like to know some more about. We will save it for a future webinar called Bank on Yourself. And Bank on Yourself is a great financing method for small business owners and a wealth builder. David, you are the proprietor of that.
Yes, I own Signal Butte Financial Corp, and the idea is to help people build wealth without risk.
And so we got together. We thought, hey, why not do why not combine our talents? David can help small businesses finance themselves and grow their wealth, and I can help small businesses that don't have a lot of money in terms of helping them get more publicity. I call it more than your fair share. And we started this radio show as a weekly radio show in October of 2011. As I said, it's broadcast in Denver. And it has grown really very nicely, Ellen. So we're our own small business.
Yay! Well, I'm so glad. And Dean, just to brag on these guys a little bit more, Dean is a Pulitzer Prize nominated journalist and had a celebrated career as a Wall Street Journal journalist, so knows just about everything there is to know about business of all sizes. And David, are you the author also of a book called Bank on Yourself?
No, that's Pamela Yellen. I was
yeah, okay. But you've written a book as well.
No, he was, again, his book is Bank on Yourself, where he was a contributing consultant to the book.
Yeah, I was on paid consultant.
Oh, in my mind, you're the king of everything over there, so I had you in my mind as the author. But that is a rockin' fantastic book.
And Ellen, you have been a contributor to our show since October or November of 2011, adding, we call you our Be Simple contributor, because being in business doesn't have to be as complex as people make it out to be. And things like your weekend business plan, your bare bones biz plan, those are all things that have been of high value and of interest to our listeners. And so it does make perfect sense for us to blend our audiences.
And
I love it.
We've had lots of people ask us who are trying to build their own business come in, and we've passed you on many times.
Yes, we've recommended you. Thank you.
Well, thanks, fellas, and hopefully we'll get some attention going in your direction today too. One of the things that I recommend about keeping it simple is to find someone who knows more about something than you do and have them mentor you, and they can mentor you in the form of a webinar or a book. And today, this area of your business, how to get attention, how to get known out there in your community so people can take a look at, wow, I like these guys, I like the way they work, I like the way they think, and they actually have goods and services that might be of service to me. Maybe I should get to know them a little bit better. And marketing and publicity are designed to be that top of the funnel filling concept, and nobody does it better than you guys. And unconventional is the key word here. So let's talk a little bit about buzz snatching. Where'd you come up with that phrase, and what do you mean by it?
I have this theory, Ellen, that every business in the country has a inherent publicity quotient, which is if you did nothing, how much would the media, how much would social networks, et cetera, how much attention would they pay to you? And so a lot of you and I got to know each other dealing with plumbers. If you benchmark plumbing as an example, what you'll discover is that plumbing is very low on the inherent publicity interest quotient. It is the media will naturally do plumbing stories in 2 or 3 circumstances. A snake or other live animal comes up through the toilet. That is a popular story.
Yep.
When it is winter, they will talk to plumbers about winterizing your sprinkler system and your plumbing, etc. And then usually in the spring, they'll go to plumbers for some kind of a home improvement story. But my whole premise is that you have to do better than your inherent publicity quotient, and you basically have to borrow or steal, therefore snatch, the talk at the water cooler. You want to be a buzz snatcher. You want people to come into the office the next day, those who go to offices, and be talking about your business. And so it is another way of saying viral free marketing, and it is viral. And it may be viral because you did something on Twitter or Facebook. It may be viral because you posted a incredibly original, unconventional YouTube video. If I've got this right here, and we'll see, I don't know if I do, I have some way of showing you, this is our Facebook page for buzz snatching, those of you who can see the screen. And one of the people, what I've done is I've gone around as a journalist and interviewed many of the people who were successful with some kind of a viral video, viral something, viral buzz grabber. And a good example, which we have up here on the Buzz Snatching Facebook page, was Justin Lately, who was basically doing a dance rehearsal. He wanted to perform on college campuses, stuck a camera on a tripod at the back of an auditorium, filmed himself, put up his audition tape on Facebook, thinking that maybe he would get some college bookings, and is still, I mean, on this particular screenshot, he had 192 million views.
Okay, now let's make sure we're looking at what you're looking at. I see your Facebook page, but I don't.
Do you see inspirational comedian Justin Lately, The Evolution of Dance?
Yes. Okay. So he has 192 million hits on this.
Many, many more by now, but this was at the time that we did this, and there are multiple versions of his original. So I would say he's probably closing in on 1 billion. That's B with boy, 1 billion hits, and basically it was for a original video that he did and didn't take a great deal of planning. As I said, his original idea was to try to get bookings on college campuses, but he's become a phenom, and he broke the mold. Like I said, I've kind of gone around and interviewed people who have this success. He has no more necessarily talent, or he has some good talent more than me and David do, because we can't dance like that, well, David.
You know, you're being modest there, Dean. You're like the carnivorous plant, you know, like the Venus flytrap.
I do. I
draw these people in, and you know the flies going by, but they have to stop by.
But the point is, you don't have to. You can be a plumber. You can be one of our show sponsors for Business Unconventional is John Peer, who is the owner of a local company that makes trusses, as in kind of things you put to support a roof, T-R-U-S-S. Well,
I didn't know what you were going to say there, but now I get it.
But his natural publicity quotient is really quite low. I mean, how many people are interested in reading stories or watching YouTube videos or tweeting about trusses? And what we do with buzz snatching, and buzz snatching is for any business owner who thinks, hey, yeah, I'd like to be part of that. It's kind of a club, Ellen, and we try to help one another. We give each other ideas, and then when somebody does tweet or post a YouTube page, we all kind of do a buzz swarm, I call it, where we all get behind and we promote that. But the idea is to get more than your fair share of publicity. So if we all have a fair share of publicity, the concept is let's do more. And in order to do that, for the most part, you have to be two things: audacious. Another word for audacious is outrageous. You have to be, you have to have a lot of that old-fashioned ingredients that my mom, David, would call chutzpah, and be willing to, chutzpah. You have to be willing to do something. When people say that, it's crazy to do that. I mean, why would anybody do that?
Well, that's a question I had: is do you have to be outgoing? I can imagine that someone who's listening, oh man, can I get buzz by not putting a chicken suit on? What is it going to take?
Well,
Do you have to find somebody on your team who really loves this stuff?
So the real answer is you have to have some cojones. That's the Italian verb.
You have to. That's right. You actually. I don't think you can be a shrieking violet and succeed. Now, again, you could be the brain trust. You can find somebody else. You can find somebody else to be out there and to be in public. On the screen now, I'm showing you, and we'll talk about this, Ellen, because we're doing this as a radio show. In about 90 seconds, we're going to have to take a brief pause. For the people on the webinar, it won't be very long, but for the people who are listening on our broadcast, it will be about 2 minutes worth of commercials and news, and then we'll be back with more of Business Unconventional, which is here. So we're going to do that. But up on the screen, for those people who can see it, and for those who are listening on the radio, what I'm referring to is a guest who's already been on our program, and you can read more about him at our website at businessunconventional.com, is a guy named Justin Aller. Justin is a State Farm insurance agent, and he did not take my class, but exemplified what it is that I teach, and that is he painted his pickup truck. In this case, it was a Chevy Avalanche in the colors of his agency. Went into the most dense traffic spot on opening days at Coors Field here, which is where the Colorado Rockies professional baseball team plays, and with his business card attached to bags, started throwing out peanuts to the crowd walking into the stadium. He had no license to do it. He paid nobody any kind of fee for the marketing, and we estimate he had 40 or 50,000 people who he exposed his insurance agency to. And what we like to say, Ellen, is that he had a marketing home run for peanuts. And
marketing home run for peanuts, and he didn't even get arrested.
He didn't get arrested.
Sometimes it does take, well, do I need a permit? Well, the first thing someone is going to say to you is some kind of cease and desist, right? You can always be asked to leave, and you can do so politely, but why not take a swing at getting some terrific exposure?
Absolutely.
No, the cops were running up and getting peanuts from him.
They were.
That's
Ellen,
right.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. We got to take a radio break. We'll be right back. Bye. Okay, we're right back. We just keep in mind for those people who are on the live webinar that we tape our radio show. So the radio listeners, and this show will be broadcast on Sunday, June 3rd. So
yes,
if you want to actually listen to this show as a radio show, the webinar listeners can go on Sunday, June 3rd at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. It's 8 o'clock here, local time in Denver, to www.710knus, S like Sam.com. So that's 710knus.com. And you'll hear a repeat of what we're doing on this webinar, only as a radio show with commercials. Anyway, Ellen, I didn't mean to interrupt, but periodically we're going to have to do that
to
satisfy the radio gods.
Okay, now as I look over the attendee list of our webinar today, I see some familiar faces, so I want to hear some questions for you. You can type them in, and if you're feeling bold, I will, even if you're not, I may open up the phone line or the microphone, and if we can get a good connection, you're welcome to talk with Dean and David about an idea that you may have or to gain some understanding about some of the ideas that they're sharing. But is the overall idea of buzz snatching to supplement good, solid marketing with just way over-the-top ways of getting attention?
Well, I think I think it's often when you have a business where to do good, solid marketing is very expensive and maybe cost prohibitive.
Okay.
So again, Ellen, we can go back. I mean, we can, and I don't know who all the guests are on the program. If you are a hot company with a hot product, so if you are, even if you're just selling, we've had guests on our radio program who are selling accessories for the Apple iPad. And Happy Owl Studio is one of the names of our Golden, Colorado,
yes.
a Golden, Colorado company that was a guest. You know, for them to put together a marketing plan, they have a lot of sales, they have a lot of interest. That's easy. If you are if your publicity quotient is much lower, so you're an electrician, you're a accountant, you have what you do is a great service and it has great value to your customers, but it's not sexy in the public light, then in many cases I recommend buzz snatching as your main marketing vehicle, because otherwise you don't get heard from. And you can buzz snatch, if you will, in any medium. So if you do a constant contact newsletter, Ellen, you do it for Bare Bones Biz, we do it for Business Unconventional, you can be audacious in what you put into your newsletter. Let me give you an example. One of the reoccurring guests on our program, Ellen, is Alicia Vargo. Alicia Vargo has nationally one of the most successful online sites for the sale of fine lingerie, of women's lingerie, fine lingerie. She also has a bricks and mortar store here in Colorado. Well, it's hard. She's got to compete with Victoria's Secret. Victoria's Secret is a Fortune 500 company with a huge business, so she could put together a marketing plan, but that really is a drop in the ocean. Instead, we have sort of tried to help her buzz snatch, and one of the things we did, we're a radio show, keep in mind, but we're unconventional. We try to walk the talk. For Valentine's Day this year, we invited her to come into the studio. I think I can pull this up online and show this people. And we had a fine lingerie fashion show here in the radio studio. So it's kind of stealing a chapter, if you will, from Howard Stern. Now, we didn't do anything particularly lewd when she was here. I can't see what I'm typing.
I was waiting to hear about that.
I'm trying to see what I'm typing, but I can't.
Well, one of the things, Ellen, is that the world really doesn't recognize direct placement style advertising as traditional. Methods are now at an all-time low. Even though that works, right? And I just heard something yesterday about cash mobs, where people come in and spend cash at retailers and they just pick somebody at random. But how does buzz snatching, give you direct placement of clients into the gravy of potential profit makers for those who subscribe to Dean's tutelage? That's the key of what he does. So we'll let him expand on that a little bit.
Well, I was trying to get my...
You know what, Dean? As you're talking, I can pull it up on my blog. The story's on my blog.
Okay,
go
ahead.
I'll do that while you kind of paint the picture. One thing, though, is even on the radio, what I'm getting is this idea of a costume, that a visual element. The truck was tricked out. The lingerie is a costume. We had costumes at Benjamin Franklin. All of our early franchisees adopted a costume to wear, and they still continue to get lots of attention when they dress up like Benjamin Franklin. So even on the radio, these guys...
At least it wasn't plumber's crack.
Well, there's some of that. Here, I can make me the presenter quickly. And
okay, that's fine. Sorry. But the real point is that we had to do something that people would talk about, and we wanted people to be saying, "Hey, did you hear that fashion show on the radio?" And what we did end up doing is we ended up also filming it, and again, a stationary camera. There you can see the models in the studio, nothing too daring. A stationary camera, and put it up on YouTube. It runs 30 minutes or so long. It's basically David and me speaking with models walking behind us, and they've gotten, it's close to 17,000 YouTube views, so that's not 194 million yet. But it's 17,000 more people who are familiar with her retail store than if they hadn't done that.
Very
And
tasteful stuff.
it was done well.
Beautiful.
So it is a matter of saying, how can I get people to pay attention to me? What you were saying, costumes is right. It doesn't have to just be costumes. One of the photos we have up on our Pinterest page shows 3 young girls who brought their violins to opening day at Coors Field, stood outside and played violin. And the reason I like that so much is that when I teach this course, I often teach it at the Wizard Academy in Austin, Texas. It's sort of a small business think tank. A couple of the women who took the course were from Huffmacher Violins in Atlanta, which is one of the largest, if not the largest, violin stores in the southeastern part of the United States. And they were saying, well, how do we get attention? And what I basically told them to do was very close to what Justin Aller did with his Chevy Avalanche. I said, why don't you deck out some kind of a vehicle, like a pickup truck, a bus, something like that, and put a live string quartet on it and drive it into the heaviest traffic you can find in Atlanta, whether it's at a baseball game or a football game. And while people are sitting stewing in traffic with your vehicle having clear logo on it for your violin store, get these, hire college students. It doesn't have to be expensive. Hire them to be on the back of the pickup truck playing string quartet music, playing Vivaldi. I mean, that does not only does that get you in front of tens of thousands of first-person witnesses to what you're doing, but in most cases it means that some journalist who's already covering the event, some TV station that's already covering the event, will photograph you, will interview you. So it's a way of blending live events, showing up someplace live, with conventional media, that's newspapers, magazines, television stations, and of course people will tweet about it, etc. Ellen, we need to take another one of these pesky radio breaks.
Oh, no problem. When we come back, Stephen's got some ideas that he's leveraged, so let's weigh in with him when we get back.
Okay, you're listening to Business Unconventional, Be Unconventional on 710 KNUS AM in Denver. We'll be right back. Okay. Welcome back to Business Unconventional.
These are the shortest commercial breaks ever.
These are
it's like
amazing.
A time warp, a warm
We're continuing our live webinar, blending our audiences, the Business Unconventional audience with the Bare Bones Biz webinar that is hosted by Bare Bones Biz founder and all-around guru, Ellen Rohr. Ellen, you said you had a question from a guest.
Well, we do, and we're going to try and do this. If the audio quality deteriorates, we're going to abort mission. But Stephen, I'm going to put you on with us. Can you hear us okay? Stephen Shannon.
Yes, we can.
Hey. Well, you're kind of a
buzzer.
He's described in the question section of our webinar that he took a traditional marketing approach, putting up a billboard, but you had the radio team in Omaha help you do it. Describe that a little bit. Describe that quickly for us.
Yes, we coordinated with WOW in Omaha, Nebraska, and had a DJ live inside a giant banana on a huge billboard. The billboard was purchased for one month only, and we tied in with the radio station so that the announcer, the only way he could get out of the billboard, they had a porta potty in there and so on for him, was that somebody would answer the phone, WOW has gone bananas. And that's a tie-in with the old radio idea of don't say hello. So if somebody...
Stephen, what do you do? How did you tie your message in with this?
Yeah, what's your business?
I was in the broadcasting business. I have to admit that. In other words...
but what business were you snatching
promoting
buzz for? Yeah.
Well, I gave them the idea so that they could then get publicity in the newspaper and on television. So I was in the...
So they were publicizing their own radio program.
Yeah, exactly.
I hear you eating, David. no eating during the radio.
I was
program.
eating a
David
banana.
eating.
Okay, he was eating a banana.
He's eating a banana.
Ah, you guys.
That's what I was thinking, Dean. Maybe we should put you in the banana.
That's too
Yeah.
funny. Thanks for asking. It was a wild success, and
Wild success, and that doesn't surprise me in the least. Again, it took, to quote David Biondo, it took some nerve to be willing to do that. It takes nerve to drive into a very crowded intersection where there are policemen and throw peanuts to the crowd. But as David Biondo pointed out, when Justin Aller did that from State Farm, the police were eating the peanuts as well.
That's right.
So, and if you got arrested, it may not be good for your arrest record, but it would probably be terrific for generating buzz, because people would say, "Did you hear about that idiot who got arrested yesterday after he drove his Chevy Avalanche?"
Yeah, much like PETA.
To the game. But there are equivalents of that.
Let me just say thanks to Stephen for chiming in.
Thank you.
I love this idea. You know, if these morning show radio hosts, and you two are kind of nutty, you can engage their sense of fun if you were to propose a wild and crazy idea to a morning show team, right? That's what kind of got me thinking as Stephen was sharing.
Well, I'll give you another example of something that was real world. I had clients who were Robbins Brothers jewelers out of Los Angeles. If you have lived in Southern California, Robbins Brothers is a chain of, at the time at least, it had 7 stores in Southern California. They said they wanted to get on the Today Show. And we tried, of course, the conventional way to get on the Today Show, which is to approach the booker and try to come up with some fanciful idea as to why they should do it. And they couldn't figure it out. So what we ended up doing is we flew to New York and we created a sign that we stood outside, you know, where they come out and they do the live segment outside, and we created a audacious sign that got the attention of, I don't remember which of the Today Show hosts it was, who came over on live television and said, "Well, who are you sending?" I think they were like sending their love to Stephen. Well, Stephen turned out to be the CEO, Steve Robbins of Robbins Brothers. But they ended up getting about 30 or 45 seconds on the Today Show to pitch Robbins Brothers Jewelers by having the audacity, and I like the word audacity, to show up and do that. And it didn't take, in that case, it took the money to get to New York, but it took the courage to get up in the morning, stand out there, and steal the buzz snatching.
You know, another thing that you just pointed out I want to underline is that if you know where the cameras are going to be, what could you do that would just steer the cameras in your direction? Like, you knew the cameras were going to be outside of the Today Show because they're always there.
Absolutely. And so Ellen, I mean, we've got, for example, coming up late this summer, we have both the Democratic and the Republican national conventions. And those are areas where you know the cameras are going to be, you know there's going to be tons of people, tons of media. What could you do? Again, ideally not to get arrested, but what can you do to make that work?
The Wall Streeters are going to show up, you know, and try to do something.
And they'll get attention for it.
Yeah, and they'll get attention for it.
Say, listen, Ellen, we're going to need to sign off with our radio audience because we're getting towards the close of that. So let me review for 1 minute with our radio audience what we've just done here, and then we will talk about, Ellen, how we will continue with your webinar audience. But for our radio audience, we have been speaking with Ellen Rohr, who is the founder and owner of Bare Bones Biz. You can visit Ellen's site at www.barebones, B-O-N-E-S, like Sam, biz, B-I-Z.com. She has a number of products that are really affordable on her website, like the Weekend Business Plan. We've talked about it previously on Business Unconventional. For a list price of like $9.95, you can really make over your business. This is, you know, in a weekend, we're going to come up on July 4th weekend. It would be a terrific thing to do. So you can read more about Ellen there, and you can also read more about her from our website at businessunconventional.com. She is a regular contributor to our show, and we will provide you links once this is broadcast, Ellen, so that people can listen to the rest of the webinar because you're going to continue recording it. But Ellen, thanks for letting our audience join you, and on behalf of David Biondo and me, we're going to sign off from the broadcast for now.
This is Business Unconventional. Be unconventional.
That's good. Now we're back, Ellen, and we're yours.
See?
We don't have to deal with radio time any longer.
So cool. Okay, now I
Guys,
can
keep
start
recording.
swearing. I'll start swearing like a sailor.
I will. In the studio, keep recording anyway. In case she has a problem with her audio, we'll have a backup audio for you, Ellen.
Oh, that's sweet. Well, this is really fun,
now
and I'm getting excited about
truth.
it.
Exactly.
This is a lot of fun. So here you are. You have opportunities to be on the camera. One of the things that I want to mention is that even if you don't have the chutzpah, there are people who do. If you ask around, like someone like me loves to be in front of the camera, and there are other people who think I'm absolutely crazy. Just because, if you're listening, just because you may not want to be the one getting all the attention, start asking around, and there are ham bones like me all over the place, and maybe there's even one who's already working for you in your company. Do you think that's a good idea, to find like the designated ham bone to be leading the charge?
I think so, but I also, Ellen, want to say that the creativity is really the originality and creativity are the keys here, and it doesn't always have to. There doesn't always have to be a video component to it. Video obviously helps, and when YouTube is free, I mean, it used to be in the old days, to get a video, to produce your own video and get it seen by millions of people, you'd have to own a television station. These days, if you're just inventive, but it doesn't mean you always have to be in front of the camera. If you want to do video, you can be behind the scenes. It can, among the most popular all-time YouTube videos are two little boys who are talking, and one boy bites the other boy's finger, and it's just adorable. And again, nobody was doing it for commercial purposes, but it ended up, again, you're talking about hundreds of millions of people that has that potential. So the technology today is pretty phenomenal. It does favor video, but you can create viral text messages on Twitter that do not have videos. David,
you could have a lizard, advertising for an insurance company, or a Neanderthal, or any number of different things. I mean, if you want to take the, I guess, bite away from being the ham yourself.
There you go.
Not that style,
But Ellen, you said something which I think is good, and that is, I am not of the "if you build it, they will come" church. I don't worship at that church. I kind of worship at the church of find where the audience is and go to them. Okay. And so, people, and I do this. I do this in every aspect of my business life and to some degree of my personal life, and that is, for example, businesses will say to me, well, why do I need to do something? I've got a website. Well, having a website falls into the church of if you build it, the thinking if you build it, they will come. I think most businesses know that they don't come, that the websites are there like it used to be in the old days of the yellow pages, so that if somebody is specifically looking for you, they can find your phone number, they can find your address. But in terms of it really attracting new customers and new clients, websites don't do much for that. But if you become a contributor, so there are a number, I do this for something called Examiner.com. There are a number of sort of social blogging networks, quasi-journalism sites. About.com is one. On About.com, you become the expert, the nationally recognized expert on a topic. And it's other people who have built these sites. You're just a guest. And rather than trying to, so let's assume that you're an electrician and you're really smart, but how do you let people know about that? Well, what too many electricians do is they try to go out and they build their own website and they try to put up information on that. Whereas they'd be much better off in terms of buzz snatching, going to About.com and becoming the official About.com electrician, or whatever whatever the topic happens to be. So in Denver, locally in Denver, I am the business examiner, and I write about business. Well, I reach a whole lot more people on Examiner.com, which is owned by billionaire businessman Phil Anschutz, than I do on BusinessUnconventional.com, which is owned by, one day will be a billionaire David Biondo, but you're just not there yet.
Billionaire in training.
Billionaire in training.
We're all training.
And so again, and there's about.com, and there are a number of these sites where you can be the expert on somebody else's site. I would even say the same thing in terms of YouTube. I mean, if you can find somebody who already has some kind of a YouTube channel that attracts tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of viewers, and you can be a guest there or a contributor there, it's better than, I know so many people who put up their own sort of drab, if you will, YouTube videos, and they have 26 views.
Like Thursday, tomorrow's Friday.
Right. I mean, it's just,
what is that all about? But anyway.
Well, you know, it's interesting, though, Dean, and I know your son Max and my son Max are of a generation where my son Max has never, ever opened a Yellow Pages. And even though his dad is a plumber, the other day he had a leaky faucet, and he went to YouTube and searched how to fix that specific faucet, found a YouTube video, and there he was off to the races. So this is how people are getting information anymore, is Google, and YouTube is the #2 search engine vehicle. So having that camera ready, let me ask this, is it like raising kids? I heard someone say, well, it's quality time, not quantity, that makes the difference. But with my kid, I realized that you had to spend a quantity of time to capture quality moments. Would the same be with buzz snatching? Do you just have to get out there a lot to get some results with it?
Yeah, I honestly liken it. By the way, I'm not a huge sports fan, but I think there are a lot of things to be learned by sports, and baseball is one of them. And in baseball, you know, if you can get on base 3.5 times out of every 10 times you come up to bat, you're one of the great legends of the sport. Which
Right.
means that 6.5 to 7 times that you come up and you're one of the greats, the all-time greats, you don't get to base. And I think that is the problem that some people have with buzz snatching, and that is they put up 2 or 3 YouTube videos that they think should attract a viral audience. They don't go viral. They say the concept doesn't work, and they give up on it. It takes time. I mean, the people it's one of two things. You either win the buzz snatching lottery, and some people win the lottery every week. There are new across the country. There are people who win that lottery every week, and that is they put up their first YouTube video, and it goes viral immediately. Or there are those people who, again, they shoot for doing, let's say we'll do one a month, we'll do one every other week, and sometimes it may take them, and they're usually surprised by which one ends up going viral. You know, they think that number 7 will go viral, but to their great surprise, number 13, the 13th time they do it, that's the time that it goes viral, or that's the time that some other journalist who has a megaphone is paying attention and says, we ought to do a story about that. Really, it's persistence and consistency. You've got to be out there. We do this show, this radio show. We're no longer taping for broadcast, but we do the radio show every week, and then I watch the results of which shows get downloaded the most on the Apple iTunes store. Sometimes I forecast it correctly. Sometimes I don't. Some weeks we have a lot of listeners. Some weeks we don't. But what we're there every week. We expose ourselves to that opportunity. Really what David and I are doing with the radio show is buzz snatching. We're basically saying, I mean, David is, you know, a financial advisor, and I'm kind of a PR guru, and I'm saying if we're not visible, if we don't put ourselves out front, if we don't try to do things that are unconventional, we won't be seen. We can't stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, hiding in the shadows is not how you're going to be recognized. And if you're doing things that are 180 degrees, you know, against the grain of what everybody's been told from the financial gurus, from here to kingdom come, they're not going to hear your story. So the story is that there is other ways to build your business, build wealth, do it from within, do it with safety, do it with opportunity, and know that you'll have some sort of predictable outcome at the end. That's not the case with today's finances, and as you can see, we're in a financial meltdown as we're talking here.
So, I mean, to get attention, and the other thing I want to say, Ellen, is, and when we started out, we said, so how many people have their own broadcast radio program? How many small businesses do? Not that many. So David and I started out, and we said, let's do that. But in fact, in time, we said, you know, we can't just do that. So we've added a weekly newsletter. People can go to our website and
Okay,
subscribe.
here we are. We can see that.
Yeah, thank you. And you can subscribe where it says receive our free newsletter. You get the free newsletter. We, again, we have a Pinterest page. We have
YouTube
channel. We have
Facebook,
we tweet.
Twitter.
We do all of those types of things because we just don't know. It is more art than it is science. We just don't know which vehicle will be the vehicle that brings us the kind of attention or business that we're seeking. And we do it, again, so it's kind of funny. The other thing is, we had one of our guests, and Ellen, you know this, one of the guests on the program is Tom Ziegler, who's Zig Ziglar's son.
Right.
And we did a segment with him on the show, and we had a chance to sit in on one of his seminars here in Denver and stuff.
Wonderful.
And one of the things that his dad, Zig, always talked about is how, you know, one way to achieve your own goals is to help other people do theirs. Well, that's kind of what David and I are doing with our buzz snatching. We have a radio show, but the show doesn't talk about, this is an exception. We don't talk about ourselves. We talk about other businesses that we think are really interesting. And I would say to your listeners, to your webinar participants, that they don't have to be in Colorado. If they have an interesting business and want to think that they would be good fodder for a radio show, they ought to contact us. And we will do that because we think by helping other businesses get visibility, get new customers, and in the end, it will come back and it will benefit us as well.
Well, I'm putting up your Buzz Snatching Facebook page here. You know, one thing that I had jotted down that I want to talk to you guys about. I remember when we kind of, once upon a time when Hot Rod and I had our plumbing company back in Utah, and we didn't have any money, but we had a ham bone like me on staff. We ended up sponsoring community events. And when we did so, instead of paying the $20,000 gold level sponsorship fee to get a plaque somewhere that no one could see, I always raised my hand to do some kind of work to help promote the event. You know, there's somebody who does this really well that I want to brag on. Can I take you? Do you remember Tab Hunter from Benjamin Franklin? Did you ever meet him, Dean?
I remember the name, but I can't drop
He
it.
ended up replacing me as president. He's one of my babies. I love Tab, and he left Benjamin Franklin, and kind of in a I've had it with the stiff white shirt, blue pants thing. My guys are going to wear Hawaiian shirts. We live on the beach. We're going to have some fun with plumbing. He started this plumbing company called the Surf and Plumbers. But what you'll notice about these guys is that they're always hamming it up at community events. So I think this is a good, just even everything about them is not what you would consider typical plumber as usual.
So they live in a van on the beach?
I don't know if they live in the van, but that looks like, those are great photos.
Yeah.
You are also in an area that I want to suggest to people too, and that is, I said to you talking about Tom Ziegler, how we like to help give visibility to other small businesses because we just think it's good practice to help other people reach their goals. Well, one of the things that David and I do with great frequency on this program is we partner with area charities. So, for example, we are running a series right now on our radio program showcasing 6 different category winners of the 2012 Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce Small Business Award winners. And what we do is we do something that the Chamber likes, and that is we give them broadcast visibility, and we give the Chamber winners visibility. And on the other hand, the Chamber, because we promote them, turns around and promotes our radio show, and people come to our radio show and do that. We have been doing.
Interrupt you, Dean, on that, because that is such a twist on it. Most people join the Chamber with this big overarching question of what can the Chamber do for me, and you actually approach the Chamber with, hi, we're here to help you be more successful and honor your members. That is a real turn on its head idea.
Well, Ellen, I don't want it to come across as being manipulative because it's sincere. It may be sincerely manipulative, but it is sincere.
We actually talked to,
I hear that. I feel that.
We spoke to Rob about, when people call in, because we're creating a buzz around these companies that have now won these awards. And sometimes, they'll call the chamber direct looking for those companies, and so we'll be getting feedback on that. But we really are very excited about what's going on.
And one of the things that I do when it comes to right now I have no course to promote, Ellen. I do a 2-day buzz snatching course at the Wizard Academy, and sometimes for individual businesses. I have none scheduled at the moment. But when I do the 2-day course, one of the other topics I talk about is how hard it is for small business owners not to be egocentric. They want everything to be about them. But for example, and this is where, again, David and I, we have an hour a week of radio where we could spend that whole hour. I could be saying to David, so David, tell me more about Bank on Yourself. And David could reply, well, Dean, tell me more about buzz snatching. And we could stuff our egos down the radio microphone every week, week in and week out. But we don't. What we do is we're not that egocentric. We realize that in a way our reputations grow and our visibility grows when we help other people be visible. I have a long record, Ellen. I think you know some of it, but I have a long record of giving out awards from different organizations that I'm involved with where I honor other people. And what I have learned over the years is, A, people love to be honored. B, it's very fulfilling to honor people who deserve it because I only honor people who deserve it. And C, that by not being egocentric and just talking about myself. So if you're in a community, let's assume, I'd love to find let's assume that you're a dog groomer. And you want attention for being a dog groomer. Well, most dog groomers, if they were to hire me to do buzz snatching for them, they would say, okay, I want to talk about me, I want to talk about me, I want to talk about me. And what I would say is, you know what, why don't you do an annual list of the 100 best dog groomers in your state, and you be the publisher of that list. So you're going to put 100 other dog groomers on there, and their response to me immediately would be, well, why would I want to publicize other dog groomers? Is because by not being egocentric, by not trying to focus on yourself all the time, in fact, you bring a lot of attention to yourself, and you do good for some other people. And so I like to give out awards. I like to find categories, create lists. Lists are always very popular. If you can come up with the, Ellen, you do. If you had a competition for Bare Bones Biz where your followers submitted their weekend business plans to you, and every year you gave out an award for the 5 best weekend business plans based upon people who've submitted that to you, what I'm saying is that in a way you're shining the spotlight on these other people. But since you're organizing the award, and you're organizing the award around what it is that is your expertise, you benefit from it too. So, and then if we did a radio show or if you do a webinar, you feature the 5 winners of your weekend business plan annual competition. And when you write the media, instead of pitching a journalist, say for a local newspaper in St. Louis or Chicago or someplace nearby, saying you ought to do a story about me, Ellen Rohr, I'm the author of Weekend Business Plan, you're going to discover you'd have more success pitching the mainstream media by saying, hey, look, I want to pitch a story about 5 companies that embrace my weekend business plan, and it's been very successful for them. They won the honor this year. These are the 5 companies. And
that is fucking awesome. You know who did something like that is Barbara Corcoran in her real estate business once upon a time. She created a newsletter that was that she just announced from the get-go was going to be the industry trade magazine, trade newsletter for real estate in the New York City area, and people started quoting it. There just wasn't anything else like it. So if another journalist wanted to know what was happening with the real estate industry, she could send them a copy of this newsletter that was very non-denominational. It didn't brag on her. It bragged on everybody in the industry, what was happening, what the trends are. But then she became the expert in her industry just by putting this newsletter together to coordinate the news about the New York real estate industry.
Yeah, like what if you had a bookstore where you could promote your book, but you also had the 5 people that you helped there, and you did sort of like a little seminar, before doing a book signing. That sort of thing really goes over very big because now you have a following. And
love it. Love the community involvement.
There's a lot of things.
Bragging on other people, being, leveraging a deed well done. Very, very good.
I just gave myself an idea, Ellen.
Let's hear it.
Hey, I'm glad I was listening to what I had to say.
Why we're doing this.
Good job, David.
So honestly, one of our clients, I mentioned this to you in our sort of call ahead of time, one of our new clients and sponsors for Business Unconventional, the radio show, is this local trust company. And one of the things I am trying to help our clients do and our sponsors do
Now, before you tell the story, can I just put his website up, or is that?
Sure, yeah.
Give him a little buzz.
H like Henry, P like Peter, Trust, TRUSS.com. We haven't worked our magic yet with his website, so.
But we're still getting his name out. We're still snatching.
We're still getting his name out.
Stuff.
But what
okay,
I actually wanted to say, what I wanted to say to you is, and the owner's name is John Peer. I'm trying to help people. I believe every small business needs its own client prospect, constant contact style newsletter, and I'm really trying to help our sponsors and clients do that. And so I need to build one for him, and I need to build one for Trusses. But what I realize even in talking to you is that while we're going to put out a monthly newsletter for High Plateau Trust, I'm going to honor every month a local contractor or somebody else who's involved in the building process that has nothing to do with trusses. In other words, so rather than it all being an egocentric me, we're going to tell you more about High Plateau Trust as though you cared in the first place. I think it's neater to say we're going to use our newsletter to tell our customers about some builder, some plumber, some electrician who we have gotten to know on the job site that we think you should know. I think that works better. Not only that, right, but then that plumber will end up sharing everything with his or her customers and prospects and have nice things to think about and say about you on the way back. Don't you think so, David?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I love that, and I think that's, for the people who are maybe a little more shy when it comes to some of these audacious efforts to gain and garner attention, when you make it about someone else, that can take the fear out of it. That can take the weirdness out of it for you.
What you're starting to see is like these trucks that go around, the food trucks.
Oh, I love it.
And they're painted very elaborately, and they park in one area, or they'll show up at some festival or something like that. And the camaraderie actually between those people is pretty amazing because they're creating a buzz all by itself that they have quality, good food, and it's takeout. You can go there anytime and pick up something that is just going to be delicious, and that's creating its own buzz. That's what we're talking about.
And it's with win-win, with the Zig Ziglar philosophy. We're going to help each other out. I love that a lot. Hey, we are down to the wire. Could I have you guys share some parting thoughts? Some here's my last bit of advice for you as you go into the buzz snatching world.
Well, one of the things I learned from Tom Ziglar, Zig Ziglar, is that if you do something spiritually and believe in it, 190%, that something good is going to come of it. And he professed that from the day one till now, and that's what my parting shot is into the sky right there.
Ellen, I think if I can conclude with anything, and that it is that no business is too vanilla. No business is too small. No business is too underfunded to be successful at buzz snatching. It's the kind of thing you can go out to the garden, walk around the park, come up with an idea, and simply have the courage to execute that idea. It doesn't really take money, and it doesn't take experience. It just takes belief. As David was saying, he's talking about belief. And that's what I would say. Believe in yourself. Believe it is possible. And if you believe it, it is possible.
I think you guys are fantastic, and thank you so much for sharing your time and your expertise with my community, and love, love, love to the Be Unconventional community. Hey, I'm putting up the contact page at businessunconventional.com. If you have something that you do that was inspired by our conversation today, and you want to share that idea with Dean and David, this would be a great place to go and keep in touch with them. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks, everybody. We love having you on the show, and I am so appreciative of all you do. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen.